Good morning. Okay, thanks for coming out today. Like he said, my name's Jose Lucero. Today I'll be talking about the pistol run game and kind of give you a little bit of information how we do it at Desert Edge. I know the pistol is kind of the hot thing right now with the teams in the NFL running, and I know a lot of guys do it a number of different ways. I'm just going to kind of show you what we do, some of our base run game, a little bit how we block our inside zone. I got some cut-ups for us. One thing I will say, if at any point today there's a question, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm here to help you. I'll answer anything I can. So like I said, if you got a question, please let me know. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Start a little bit about Desert Edge High School. First of all, we are about 1,500 students. We are Division III in Arizona, which is the middle of the road, basically. We're not the biggest school, not the smallest. About 150 kids play football in our program, 45 kids, give or take, on varsity. Our JV and varsity coaches, we all coach together. Okay, so me personally, I only coach offense, and we two-platoon our coaches. I coach offense for the varsity, and at the same day of practice, I'll coach JV as well. So we kind of do it together, and the JV kids and the varsity kids will just flip-flop where they're at, and the coaches will coach just one side of the ball. So our defensive guys coach defense, offensive guys just coach offense, and it really helps us get kind of a uniform set of how we do things in our program from the JV level coming up. Our freshman staff has about 4 coaches, give or take. We'd like to always include more. We know how important that level is. For us, our coaching staff, we took over the program 3 years ago in 2010. Before we had gotten there, the school had never made the playoffs. We've been very fortunate we came in. We had some pretty good players, and that's obviously the most important key to success usually. Had some pretty good players, so we've made 3 consecutive playoff runs. 2010, we were a state semifinalist, lost in double overtime to the eventual state champion, and then this last season finished 13-1. So it was a good year. We just lost the one game at the wrong time, which was the last game of the year. As far as our kids, we try to go as much two-platoon as possible. We are not a huge team, but we have as much two-platoon as possible. I know with our offensive and defensive line, we have them usually start just one way, and that's the side they focus on the most, with the exception of some kids that are just special packages or special players where you got to put them on the field no matter what. That's just kind of our philosophy. And then offensively, we are a pistol team. Now, we weren't always a pistol team. We kind of had to evolve to this point, and there's a couple reasons why we went to the pistol. We'll kind of highlight. Number one was no tendency of the back, and we'll talk about it here in a little bit, but we went from a 2-back I team to a shotgun spread team, and now we've kind of evolved into a pistol. And one of the things we like is that there's no tendency with our back because, as we'll see, he's going to be lined up straight behind us. Allows our running back to play downhill. This last season, we had a pretty special kid playing a running back for us, 6'2", 215-pound running back. I didn't want him moving side to side. I wanted him going downhill, and being in the pistol allows him to do that a little bit more, so we thought that was beneficial. Allowed us to utilize an athletic quarterback. Okay, so this is a little bit different than maybe just line up under center in the I or any type of single back formation. It allows us to incorporate kind of an athletic quarterback, and most importantly, it combines what we know. Okay, we all came from backgrounds of a spread, 2-back option type system, and going to the pistol allowed us to incorporate all these different concepts into one offensive package. And then also, going to the pistol, more than anything, helped open up our play action game and our passing game, okay, which we'll talk about a little bit. That's what my assistant's reporting on over there. But it definitely helped us out a lot. Biggest thing, it made us more dynamic. Numbers sometimes don't tell the whole story, but basically we're looking at our 3 seasons at Desert Edge. 2010, we were a 2-back I team. We kind of knew our identity. We were going to run the football, and we did a good job of it, but we were pretty one-dimensional. 2011, we caught on to the fad of the spread, no huddle offense, and had some success doing it, but I still think we were a little bit too predictable in what we did because, being in the spread, we felt like we were a little too limited with the position of our back and what we could do. When we went to the pistol, our offense exploded. We didn't really incorporate a ton of new concepts. It was something as simple as being able to put that back in the backfield, allowing him to play where he's more comfortable, and still having the spread kind of involved in it. And the biggest key you'll see, rushing-wise, we've always been able to run the ball pretty effectively, but if you look at our 2012 stats, this is our first year of the pistol, we rushed the ball with a little bit more efficiency, much more explosive plays, but our passing numbers just exploded. Okay, because of the play action game, because of the screen game off of it, our passing numbers exploded. We threw for over 3,600 yards. Our quarterback, who was a first-year starter, set every record in the book for our high school. So with going to the pistol, it just allowed us to be more dynamic. We scored more points. We had more explosive plays. Okay, kind of get into our pistol. Here's our base alignment. Our quarterback will line up with his heels at 4 yards. Okay, and we tell our running back to line up 3 yards behind him. Now, this can be altered depending upon the speed of your back. Like I said before, we had a pretty special kid playing running back for us this year, but when he came downhill. So we had to move him back so that the timing of some of our plays was a little bit easier. So as you're implementing the pistol, don't be afraid to kind of alter where you put your running back depending upon the speed. Most of our kids, that 3-yard separation was enough. Okay, our number one guy, we had to back him up a little bit on certain plays just to help the mesh out for the play that we were running. Okay, so don't be afraid to kind of have to do that just depending upon the kids you have. Okay, but that's kind of where we start, and then we kind of tinker with it from there. Now for our base pistol run game and what we do, I kind of broke it up into a couple different categories that we're going to look at today. Our day one stuff is just our traditional inside zone. Okay, we run it a couple different ways. We run our base inside zone, which we'll talk about, and then something that we call zone trap. We run the zone read series. This is the pistol read that everybody's running now. You see the 49ers running it. We run it a number of different ways, which we'll talk about today as well. We run what we call our outside zone, which is the horn play, which is something that Nevada's run for years. It's kind of a staple of Nevada's offense. They do it very well. We run it ourselves. And then a little bit of the two-back stuff that we do. Kick, which is just our power O, for any of you guys that are two-back I guys, our power O. And then our jet play, which is our way of running the power read from a pistol set. Okay, so we'll take a look at some of that stuff today. But before we get into that, I do have something for the O-line guy, because I'm an O-line guy. It just kind of talks about how we run our inside zone. This is part of the packet as well, if you picked one up. And if anybody wants this, I can email it to you. But for us, with our inside zone, and I tell our kids, this is what we do. We are a zone team. When they come in as freshmen, they are learning our zone scheme. Now, to make it something that we can run from the freshman level up, we have simplified it as much as possible, or at least tried to. For our offensive linemen, when they come up to the line of scrimmage, there's just a couple things that they need to be able to tell for them to know what block they need to execute. We keep it very simple. First thing they got to be able to notice, are they uncovered or covered? Okay? Pretty obvious one. I'm covered if I got a guy on me. I'm uncovered if I don't. Okay? I don't care what grade level you are going up, you should be able to understand that. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then the second thing, do I have a strong shade or a weak shade? That's it. We'll talk about those. So the first rule, am I covered or uncovered? All right, they pick that one up pretty quickly. The only rule breaker we have is for our backside tackle. So if it's zone right, our left tackle, if he has a backside 5 technique, we count that as uncovered. We're not going to worry about him. Usually we're either reading him or we're trapping him with our H-back or something along those lines. Okay, so a rule breaker for us is that backside tackle, that 5 technique, he'd be uncovered. So that's step one. They can determine that, they're halfway there. They can block any front. Step 2, am I covered strong? Am I covered weak? Okay, for us, covered strong is, do I have a defender lined up to my play side shade? So if I'm playing right guard, and we're going zone right, and I have a 3 technique, he's a strong shade. So I'm covered, strong. All right? Pretty simple. If I'm playing right guard and I got either a head-up technique or a backside shade, we say he is covered weak. All right? So head up to backside equals our covered weak. And that's day one. We kind of talk about what these rules mean. For our freshmen, they literally line up. Okay, and they go, okay. They put a guy head up, and what are you, covered or uncovered? They all answered, covered, weak or strong, weak. And it's pretty simple. They have to determine 2 things. And then based upon those 2 things, it's kind of like an equation. Okay? If I am covered strong, I'm going to execute a drive block. If I'm covered weak, I'm going to execute what we call stab. Coach Black, can you stand up here? Now for us, a drive block, okay, if I'm covered strong, let's say we're going zone right, is just a typical drive block. You're going to step zone, all right? Your second step, you're making contact with the guy down his crotch, and then your third step, you're driving through. A stab technique for us, say the guy's head up on me. We're going zone right. I'm going to take my zone step, second step, I'm driving through half the man. Okay? So that's basically our covered rules right there. For our uncovered kids, they kind of have their own set of rules. Let's say Coach Black is playing left guard now, I'm playing center. All right? If Coach Black, let's say we're playing a 4-3. If Coach Black has a 3 technique on him, that means he is covered strong. So my rule, my base rule as an uncovered lineman, is that I'm going to work with the covered lineman to the play side. So we're going zone left. Coach Black is covered strong. So that means my rule is I am uncovered strong. Does that make sense? Okay, now if Coach Black had an inside shade on him, he'd be covered weak, so I would be uncovered weak. Okay, pretty simple. And the way we kind of do it from there is, once again, they have a block they have to execute. If I'm uncovered strong, I'm going to check and climb. All that means I'm going to zone step to my gap. Nothing comes, I'm going to climb to the second level. If I'm uncovered weak, I have a 2-eye technique. I'm going to zone step to my gap and work to lateral drive through that defender. So if Coach Black's here, if he's covered weak, he's going to stab. So he's going to take half the man here. I'm going to step and take the other half the man. And we're going to work to get a vertical push. All right, it seems pretty simple, but when it all boils down to it, your offensive line, to execute our inside zone play, have to know and execute 4 blocks. They have to do 4 things. That's it. Okay, so at practice, imagine how much you can get done if going out every day you have to do 4 things. And no matter what scheme you get, no matter what front they show you, these are our rules, these are the blocks we have. And you drill it on them every single day. All right, and that's how we block our inside zone. Very simple, okay, but over the last few years we've kind of done it this way. It's been the staple of our offense, our zone play, and it starts with this scheme, this understanding. Okay, any questions on that? All right, it's pretty, like I said, pretty simple how we do it, but the kids understand it, and the biggest key is, you guys know this, if the kids understand it, if the kids buy into it, it can look really good. So keep it as simple as possible, and that's how we do our inside zone. We've done counting and things like that. I know a lot of people do that. We just feel that this is just the easiest way for them to do it, because the worst thing that can happen is if an offensive lineman who's already slow comes off even slower because he's trying to think. We want our guys to be able to come off, smack somebody in the mouth. Don't think about it, know your job, and do it. And that's what we hang our hats on. Our inside zone play this last year was our bread and butter. All right, a part of it because of the way we blocked it, another part because, like I said, we had a pretty special kid back there. For our inside zone scheme, we got a couple basic rules. I just kind of talked about what our scheme up front is. We'll talk about how our quarterback and our tailback execute it. First of all, for our quarterback, he's going to open up to 5 o'clock. Okay, so if you have obviously a clock on, he's going to open up to 5 o'clock, work to get the ball deep to our running back, and then he's going to boot opposite the call once he gets it. Now, you're going to see on film, there's a couple times that our quarterback, after he would hand the ball off, would come up and show us, because towards the end of the year, we kind of also built into place for him to come up and show pass a little bit. So you can tinker with that as you see fit. But most of the time, we like for him to boot out because we run a pretty good naked game off of it and how we do things. For our running back, or we call our A-back, his footwork is pretty simple. He's first going to start off taking a zone step, pretty similar to how we teach our offensive line. He's going to zone step. Okay, his second step is going to be he's going to roll over his outside foot. Okay, then get downhill with his shoulders square. His aiming point is going to be the outside leg of the play side guard. Okay, that's going to be his aiming point. And his read, when he blocks this, is going to be the first, runs this, is going to be the first down lineman past the center. So we give him a guy to kind of keep his eyes on. So he takes his zone step, gets the ball. Guard has a 3 technique on him. He takes him outside. He's going to cut it up inside. Okay, so pretty simple stuff here. Now the other thing we will do off of it is we will zone trap it. You get a backside end that's squeezing down. Okay, and you don't want to boot your quarterback because he can't get outside, whatever the case may be. We will trap our H-back. Okay, let's see, right here. He will come down the line of scrimmage. So this is zone right. It will be zone trap right. We're locking zone right. H-back would come down, kick out that backside defensive end. Now, nothing changes for anybody. The word trap just talks to that H-back. Okay? And it does a couple things for us. Kind of helps seal off this backside edge in case we want to cut back. And also, the play action off it is pretty sweet. Okay? We'll make it out, and he'll kind of leak to the flat. It's pretty nice. We call that our slice play, but it's pretty sweet as well. But nothing really changes for anybody. We will slice him from an H-back position, okay, in kind of a wing, and also from the backfield in more of a fullback type position, offset next to the quarterback. So we'll do it either way there, okay? I got a couple clips here. Okay, this is just our regular zone. Now, one thing you'll see with our center, if we get a backside 2-eye that's a pretty good football player, we will fold block that. Or our center will block back, and our guard should come around for the linebacker. Okay. Another one here. Like I said, I'm pretty dang smart when I can just give him the ball, but. Okay, again, another reason we like the pistol, we feel like when we were in the gun, this was never a cutback he could see. But now he's so square to the line of scrimmage, that's much more easy of a motion for him to make and see that cutback, bam, and there's nobody left. Okay, here's a nice look by our offensive line. We talked to them one thing about staying square and how we get weird looks. The team we're playing here is going to load 3 guys up on our center, and at the snap of the ball, they're all going to go every which way, trying to mess up our zone rules. But we tell our guys, just stay square, and somebody's going to show up. Okay, so somebody's got to show up unless they just completely vacate the A-gaps. Okay, again, nice little cutback. He scores. Okay, one thing we also did a little bit towards the end of the year, we didn't have a true tight end. So in order to create that extra gap at the end of the line, we just put our H-back and run zone right behind him. Okay, this isn't a great job by him, but at least it creates an extra gap for the defense to protect. Here's a decent job of a lateral drive by our right guard right here. We're going to take over the nose guard. Center gets up onto the backer. This is a good job by a stab in our lateral drive here. This is our state championship game. Working tandem there. Here are some issues we had with our zone play. Number one is our running back looking for cutback every time. That's where the touchdown is, I know. I mean, I never played a running back. I never scored a touchdown in my life. But if I was a running back, I'd try to score one every time I touched the ball. They love to try to cut that ball back. They think that's how the play is supposed to be run. But when they hit the play side over and over and over again, I tell them, you go there and you bloody somebody's nose, that's when the cutback's going to come. So we got to talk to you guys about being patient on it. Backside 2-eyes that are quick, we always would fold it. Okay, it's a tough block for your backside guard to dig out that 2-eye and get underneath him, especially if he's a good defensive lineman. So we would fold block that. We block back our center and lead our guard to the mic. This creates a little bit easier block for our guys up front. And you got to commit to it. You got to work it every day. Okay, we do zone footwork every single day. We get on the boards every single day. We do a lot of that stuff. So it's just something you got to commit to. On the zone trap, same thing as above. One issue we had, though, is a bad kick-out block, a bad angle by that fullback on the backside end. Okay, if you're not downhill enough, it's very similar to your guard kicking out on a trap. You can't be uphill or that guy's going to beat you across your face. So we had issues with that every now and then. Now this is the flavor of the month. This is the zone read stuff. We call it our veer package. And we run a number of different ways. Okay, we veer it, we veer trap it, we veer bluff it, we run veer high, we run veer low, and it's just different ways that we block this scheme. But for the guys up front, it's no different than the play we just blocked, which is pretty nice. Okay, so here's our veer play, our base veer play. For the offensive line, it's inside zone. Veer right, inside zone, zone right. So it's the same exact rules, nothing new for them. For our quarterback, okay, he's going to step 45 degrees, play side to the line of scrimmage. So if it's veer right, he's going to take his right foot, he's going to attack the line of scrimmage 45 degrees and open up, okay, giving the A-back, the midline, okay, to get downhill, and he's going to read the backside defensive end. All right, and the way we coach our read is we give him a read line. So let's say we're reading this coach right here. Okay, our quarterback's going to draw in his mind a 45-degree angle line down the middle of that defender. On the snap of the ball, if he crosses this side of the line, he's pulling it. Okay, if he goes to the other side, he's giving it. For a while, we did shoulders, where if he turns his shoulders, that's when you want to pull it. But then you had guys that would squeeze down with shoulders square. And our quarterback would go, oh, his shoulders didn't turn. So we started doing a read line, made it a little bit easier. The quarterbacks liked it. We do it on all of our run plays. We have a read line, okay, the way that we do things. Okay, so it's pretty simple there. Our running back, if it's veer right, his aiming point is downhill right now, backside cheek of the center. Okay, so if it's veer right, you go in the left cheek of that center. Okay, that's your aiming point. It's downhill. Okay, that's why when we did this, we had to back up our number one guy a little bit. Yes, sir.
What do you do with the exchange relationship with quarterback, running back, so the running back's not trying to take the ball?
Well, that's a good question. He's talking about the mesh that we do. We practice mesh every single day. If you want to run this play, you got to have a good veer mesh. So we practice mesh every single day, and we tell our running back, the quarterback will give it to you. You don't take it. As he's going through, he's got to kind of squeeze down a little bit, but he's not supposed to pull the ball out. The quarterback will take care of who gets the ball. Okay, but we mesh every single day to develop that timing down a little bit. That's when you figure out how far back guys need to go. Okay, so we'll veer it. We'll veer trap it, which for us is an automatic give, and it's no different than our zone trap. This is just another way, we want to give the ball, but we want to give them going downhill a little quicker. So we'll veer trap it. It's very similar to our zone trap. H-back coming back, kicking out that backside end. We will veer bluff it. For us, our veer bluff is just like veer, but except for now, our H-back, instead of kicking out that backside end, is going to fake it. He's literally should run, fake like he's going to kick out that end, bluff around him, and be a lead blocker for the quarterback if he pulls the ball. Okay, that's our veer bluff play. One of the big things that we try to do in our offense is play games with this kid, that hang player. Okay, we're going to bubble off him. Okay, we're gonna bluff a guy across to block him, because that's who the defense usually likes to have as their big advantage guy, is their hang player. For us, we're going to try to play games with him. So we're going to take a guy from the opposite side of the field, bluff him across, fake kicking this guy out to get around here. Now, if this defensive end sees a guy coming to kick him out, what's he probably going to do? He should squeeze down. So your quarterback's going to pull it, and if your H-back's good enough to get a block on him, there's probably nobody left. Okay, so we'll do stuff. We'll bluff our running back. All right, here's some of the fun stuff. We'll high it. We call veer high, where we want to read a second-level linebacker. Everything is the same for the offensive line up front. The only thing that changes now, our backside tackle is going to lock out on that backside defensive end, and our quarterback is going to read the second level. Okay, so that's our veer high scheme. Okay, so we're going to read a second level guy, and his read doesn't really change too much. He's going to come down, he's going to read that backer. That backer comes across his read line, okay, to tackle the A-back. He's going to pull it and lead up inside, and take the ball up inside the tackle. That linebacker just sits, he's going to give it. At the bare minimum, if this linebacker sits, he's catching your running back at 4 yards. I think we'll take that every day of the week. Okay? So it's a pretty nice little wrinkle, especially if you got a defensive end that's just a pain in the butt because he's such an athlete, they can go in and out. Just lock your tackle on him. Yeah.
Hey, Coach, to go back real quick, on the veer bluff,
okay.
Was the H-back in motion?
No.
Or does he just get across?
He gets across. We're very lucky. We had a kid that can do it. Okay? If you don't have a kid that can get here from the wing, put him right here. Okay? Put him in the backfield next to the quarterback.
And that's what you call the play, veer bluff.
Veer bluff. For us, this look right here would be veer bluff right. Yep, so formation right here would be right slot, veer bluff right. Okay, so that's our veer bluff, veer high, and we'll also veer low. You got a D tackle that you don't even want to block. Okay? You got a D tackle that's just a pain in the you know what. We will read him instead. We'll lock our backside tackle. We'll lead the backside three technique. This is your midline. You guys that have been in the game for a while, this is your old school midline read. You're just going to read that three technique. Okay, nothing really changes. Draw a read line. He comes inside of it, keep it. He goes outside of it, all right, give it. All right, but now you're reading the 3 technique. And you only want to run it to the 3 technique, so you got to formation it so that you're doing it. Okay? But you only want to run it at the 3 technique. Now, one thing that'll help you on both of these plays, this veer high and this veer low, your backside guys to get bigger splits, especially that backside tackle. All right, so here's some clips. Yes, sir.
When you run your veer, you trying to run it to a certain technique, a 3 or 1, 2 eye?
We try to run it to the 2-eye because it helps with that cutback lane a little bit, but we'll run it either way. It just kind of depends on what we like. We run it at the 3 technique or the other way. Just kind of, it doesn't really matter for us. But if we had to pick running it, if we have a 2-eye and a left guard, we're going veer right. So that left guard can kind of just zone down, wash him down. It creates a little bit easier cutback lane. Okay? Well, we run it either way. All right, here's some clips of our veer stuff. Now, one thing that we like to tell our running backs is that after you get the ball, it turns into inside zone. You don't have to cut it back. It doesn't have to stay to that side you're going to. Your aiming point, your read is still the defensive lineman, first guy past the center. So for us, this is veer right. So we like for him to bend it back to the play side, still hitting in that alley. Now, one thing that we did later on in the season to play games with this hang player is this stuff, where he would bubble off it. Okay, so it would be the same. It's basically just a triple option read, where we can run the veer, the quarterback can keep it. If this kid were to commit to the quarterback, he can throw the bubble. All in one play. Now, when you have a special kid playing a running back, this kind of stuff happens. And if you hopefully have a faster quarterback than we do. Like I said, you can utilize an athletic quarterback if you have one. This was our kid. But hey, that's a 15-yard gain. It's a good read. You see the DN goes inside the read line. He tackles our running back. That's a great play by him. All right, here's an example of us bluffing across. Decent job by the H-back. Okay, we lose somebody on the inside. They're doing a whole bunch of games. We lose somebody here. That's a good job of him picking him up. Hey, he picks up a quarterback an extra 5-6 yards. Okay, and if you got a kid that can house call you, you're probably gone. But our kid was probably a 5-flat 40 kid. He was getting 8 yards. Okay, we're bluffing again here. Okay, we lose somebody inside again. I think this is the first play of the whole year. Okay? And if you got a kid that can make this play go at your H-back position, you got a kid that's a good blocker. For us, this is that kid's first year ever playing football. He did a good job for us. He got better as we went. But if you got a kid that can really get after it, it really opens up some things for you. And as he got better, we got better. So that's 6 yards. And we'll take that once again every day. Okay, here's our veer. It's a good job by him keeping it play side. Now we miss a play side linebacker. All right, now some of our issues with the veer. QB not giving up the midline. Okay, we repped it every single day. But we still had times where our quarterback would, instead of stepping 45 degrees and giving up that midline, all he would do is pivot and turn. Okay? Well, let a 200-pound running back run him over a couple times, they'll get out of the way. Okay? But that's kind of, we had some issues with that at times. And sometimes you'd have a poor mesh. And we got better as the year went. But even still, we had times where the mesh was a little bit off. Okay, so you have to kind of rep that. Running back not reading the play like zone. Early on, our A-back, especially before he moved him back, just tried to hit it hard. And I loved it. I was the O-line guy. Yeah, just run people over. But as soon as he slowed down and read it more like inside zone on that front side and bended it back to the play side, the play really opened up. Because it gave the defense two different sides of the field to defend. They got to stop inside zone, and they got to stop our zone read quarterback running over here. Okay, so that was an issue. And then messing the timing when we bluff or trap. Okay, I remember specifically, and you got to go through some growing pains, we bluffed our H-back from a wing. It was early on in the season in practice. We bluffed them across, and the A-back and our H-back, boom, collided with each other. Now, it wasn't a pretty thing. I thought my head coach was going to fire me. But you got to mesh those things and time it out. Okay, with that kind of cross motion going on, you make sure you have a kid that can get there. Okay, that kid that we have, he could get there when we put him in the wing spot. But if you don't, just put him in the fullback spot. He'll get there quick enough and get across the play and bluff the other side. Okay? Like I said, it's pretty basic. That's kind of how we do it, and that's how we teach it to our kids. Pretty simple reads, pretty simple concepts. We don't really go overboard with a number of things. And as the year went on, we progressed. We ran the veer with the bubble off of it, which was kind of nice because we had a lot of little Smurfs that can catch screens and get loose. So we opened up for them. As a center, this was my favorite play. When we went pistol, I was like, we're putting this in day one. The only reason why is because the center pulls every single time on this play. And that's awesome if you're a center. Okay, our center loved it. All right. So our outside zone is what we call our horn play. This is the Nevada horn play. It's not mine, but I've had a chance to kind of figure out how they do it and talk to people and talk to Nevada. So they've been kind enough to give us a breakdown here. Now for the horn play, there's a couple basic rules, and we'll talk about it. First of all, our quarterback's footwork. This is the first time he's going to reverse pivot and belly out. So he's going to take the snap, he's going to reverse pivot, and he's going to belly out, and then he's going to boot opposite after he gives the ball off. Okay, trying to get the ball back deep. For our running back, his footwork is the exact same thing as zone, a regular zone footwork. We just tell him to slow down a little bit. Okay, so if on zone, he is stepping, rolling over, getting downhill, nothing changes for a horn. Okay, quarterback's going to belly out, so he needs to slow down. Step, a little patience, then get downhill. For our wing back, okay, we don't have a wing drawn up here, but if we have our H back in, okay, his rule is a down block. Any wing T guys, buck sweep. It's buck sweep for that H, for that wing. Okay, it's the wing T buck sweep. Okay, so you're down blocking here. The horn play is very similar to buck sweep, but instead of borrowing from the backside to pull, we're going to borrow from the center over. So it's kind of nice there. For our tight end and O-line, here's kind of the scheme that we run. So our H-back, automatically down blocking. Here's the scheme versus an even front. We have two different ways we block this. We kind of had to evolve as the year went on. For H-back, we know he's down blocking. For our tight end, okay, the tight end has the defensive end no matter what. Okay, and he has three different rules depending upon what technique he's going to see. If he's got a 7 technique, he down blocks. Okay, if he has an 8 technique, he's going to base block. Just take him on. Leave him with his inside foot. If he's got a 9 technique, he's going to do what we call zone reach him. All right, where basically he's going to zone step, work to his outside shoulder, working to get that outside digit. Okay? Now this year, we didn't have that tight end. We don't have a lot of those bodies walking around. So we ran it mostly with a wing to an open receiver side. If you have a tight end, run it with a tight end. Okay, it looks a lot better. It's a little bit cleaner. But we didn't have one, so we ran it without it. Now, the rules for your offensive line. Your play side tackle and play side guard. Their rule is I'm down or I'm out. Okay, if they got a 3 technique on that guard, a 2 technique, come here, Coach Black. If they got so let's say we're going horn right, Coach Black's playing right guard, face that way. I'm right tackle. Coach Black got a guy head up on him, or 3 technique, or I got a guy here on me, I'm down blocking. If there's nobody for me to down block on, I'm pulling. I'm gone. Every single time. Now for the guard, his rule is the exact same. If he's got a 2-eye, okay, he's down blocking. Nobody down block on, he's gone. Okay, our center, every single time is gone. His job is to turn up first daylight, okay, when he pulls. Every single time the center pulls no matter what. For the backside too, their job is to cut off the backside A and backside B gap. Okay, those are our rules when we block inside zone versus an even front. Okay, so this is an example. You got a 3 technique. You got let's say an 8 technique on the tight end, backside 2-eye. Pretty simple. Guard's pulling out. Probably going to kick out this linebacker. Center's pulling, turn up first daylight. Now we tell our running back, when he gets out there, he sees that center pull to find that second puller, get into his hip pocket, and follow him. Now our best running back, I'll be honest, he had one rule, get loose. Okay? If he had a lane, he could take it somewhere, we let him do it. But we teach our kids to follow that center. But if you got a guy that can just create on his own, don't put handcuffs on him. Okay? Because sometimes your running backs can be faster than your center. All right? So that's our horn versus an even front. Whereas an odd front, H-back, the same thing. For your tight end, okay, so an odd front, you got, 4-0-4. Guy head up on the tackle. That tight end's going to block down. Nothing changes for him, really. Okay? For the play side tackle now, here's where it's different. We want him to double team. Okay? I don't know about you guys, but for us, our H-backs and tight ends, they want to score touchdowns. They'll block because they're good kids, but it's not their thing to do. So if you got a kicking defensive end, and you're asking your H-back to down blocking him by himself, that kid's going to blow it up in the backfield. So we would do with our play side tackle, we saw an odd front, he'd say, hey, me and you, me and you, me and you. And that H-back would know he had help. So we would double down there. Now that automatically means that our front side guard was pulling, our center was pulling, and the backside guard had the responsibility of cutting the nose guard. Okay, so if there was a zero technique on the center, that backside guard had to cut him. Very, very important. You got to have a kid that can do that. We'd have him tighten down his split if he needed to on our horn play to cut that backside guy. Okay, so here it would be versus an odd front. Double teaming here to that backer. Guard and center are getting out. Backside guard's got to cut that nose. Okay, backside tackle's working up second level. All right, and there's our horn play. Yes?
Why do you prefer this to letting the center take the nose and pulling the left guard?
First of all, for our scheme and our zone stuff, our center has to be an athlete. He's got to be able to move a little bit. And our guards are usually going to be our kids from what we do. They're going to be our bigger kids, more of our mauler type kids. They're not our best athletes. So that's number one. We like to see our center out in space on this play more than our guards. The other thing is, if we're going to borrow pullers and get kids out in front of our running back, it's going to take this kid a little bit longer to get all the way around there, all right, than it would for our center to get there. Okay? So that's kind of another thing is, too, it kind of messes up the read here. Not many teams pull their center. A lot of teams are used to watching that guard pull, and that linebacker scrapes over, it can blow it up. So we feel like because of the athletes we put here, the way we do it, now if you're a wing T team and you're a wing T guy, then your guards are your athletes. Okay? But for us, we like to get our center out because that's how we did it. And that's kind of where we put our athletes. Does that answer your question? Okay. All right, so here's some clips of us running our horn play. Okay, here's our center getting out, guard getting out. Now our tackle, I think, had an inside technique, so he decided to cut this kid. See, it is a good job right here of getting both these guys up inside. Okay? And our A-back has good patience, then bounces it because he sees there's an outside lane. Finds the center, presses it, and gets outside. Okay, again, got a down block here. First guard's gonna pull and kick out. Center's up inside, sealing off the inside. Get a good block by our receivers up top. Okay, this one's kind of a funny one. In theory, this works if you can get it done with your H-back. We got all three kids getting out here. If your backside guard can cut this off, we don't like doing it this way. There's lack of communication, but we did get all three out. A nice block by our guard here. And if you got a tight end that can do this, and you got a guard that can cut off backside, we kind of missed that here. We got lucky and got away with one. Now, I will say this, it seems difficult, the idea of your center snapping and pulling. This is our backup kid right here. This is a kid that not one of our starters getting out. He does a decent job getting out. Doesn't block anybody, but He gets out. It's half the battle, I guess, getting somebody's way. Okay, here's a good job by our center and a good job by our running back. We tell our center, turn up first daylight. So that's what he's going to do. By our running back, he's told to run to daylight. That's what he's going to do. One thing that's nice is because we tell him to get downhill first, it sucks up and delays those linebackers. Now those linebackers are in a foot race with your tailback. Okay, here's a decent job. Now these guys, our center was a pretty smart kid. So if a guard were to kick a kid out or log a kid, he would know what to do off that block. So here he goes outside, and they kind of switch responsibilities. And one thing we teach our offensive linemen in space, it doesn't have to be a devastating block. All right, we teach them to shimmy up, get down, and get in somebody's way. Okay, because we're never going to take the head off a linebacker. He's usually going to miss. Yeah.
How deep would you normally teach your center to pull?
He does get deep, pretty deep. We talked to him about, that's a good question. Because he's snapping, all right, we tell him just to traditionally rip open one step, all right, get your depth and bubble around it, probably about a yard behind the line of scrimmage, and get outside. But he's got to have a feel for it too. You know, if he feels there's pressure, he's got to be able to get downhill. Now, for our other pulling linemen, we teach a goat pull or a skip pull. Okay, we teach, you know, the cross over the backside foot, keep your shoulders square, and get up to the second level. Okay, here's a good example. So here's our guard skip pulling right here. We like the skip pull because it helps keep his shoulders square. Okay, a couple more here, I think clips of the horn play. Here's our backup running back, starting corner, and he does a good job, but he just kind of does what he does. There's our quarterback trying to get a block. Okay, here you can see the cut blocks by the backside kids. Now we try to tell them to cut that front side knee. That's their aiming point. I got one more here. Here's a bad job by our center. I put this in here for a reason, I remember. We talk about him turning up first daylight. This is one of the big issues with this play. If that center thinks he's going to score the touchdown, okay? He's got to slow down and get his shoulders square to pick up this guy right here. And then the running back's got a chance. I always tell him it's no good for you to be in the end zone, all right, and the running back to be tackled. Here's some of the issues we have with our horn play. I want a blitzing middle linebacker. All right, if teams are just sending that Mike a lot, don't run horn. That's tough. That's tough to pick up. But if they're not, and you have a good tendency on when they do it, you can kind of call your game based upon it. The center must turn up first daylight. You just saw in that last clip, he didn't turn up. Got tackled a running back. Okay, so center must turn up first daylight. Your H, we ran it with just an H. I don't know how many guys have good tight ends walking around, but we ran it with our H-back a lot. We have to really work on that kid down blocking. Our H-back has to be the best, one of the best football players on our field. You got to be able to down block. You got to be able to run the ball at times. You got to be able to go out and catch passes. So it asks a lot of that position. So like I said, if you have a kid like that, it really helps. And then A-back being patient. Okay, sometimes they get in a hurry and the mesh would kind of get tight a little bit, and our running back would turn around, or quarterback turn around, he'd be right there. So that mesh is part of an issue as well. Okay, now here's the last couple little pieces here. This is our kick play, which is, like I said, just our power O. I just want to show us, when I played in college and I started coaching at first, the two-back eye stuff was what I loved. And if we had the kids that can do it, it still would be a fun offense to run, I think, because I love just being able to line up and just, bloody somebody's nose every now and then. We got a bunch of athletes. Got to be able to get them the ball. Okay, but we still run our kick play, which is our power O play. But here's another play that we've kind of wrinkled into what we do. We're running a lot out of this set, our veer bluff or veer trap and things like that. But another thing that we want to incorporate in our offense is the power read play that everybody runs. So we're very lucky. The kid that we have playing here that does all the bluffing and the trapping is also a pretty good athlete. So we'll put him here, and instead of having him bluff or anything like that, he'll run the ball. We'll run the power read play, okay, that everybody else is running, where the quarterback is going to read the front side defensive end. Okay, we lead our A back out, okay, on that hang player. Okay, and we'll run it two different ways. We'll run it him from the backfield. We'll also run it from motion. Okay, and we always put our A back in the pistol still, give the defense something else to account for. And it does time up. We never have any issues with the A back being too slow, getting out in front. So our power scheme, and I'm kind of short on time, so I'll go through this pretty quick. If you have any questions, just kind of let me know. But our power scheme, pretty simple. Play side's going to block down. Play side guard, backside guard is going to pull, turn out for his daylight. Backside tackle is going to wheel. Now, versus our 3-4 and a 3-3, we do modify some things on our power read scheme, because we also just run the traditional power read with the A back offset. Versus a 3-4, we're going to do something we call a tank block, where if we have a true 3-4 look, our front side tackle, instead of blocking down, is going to release outside to the outside backer. All right, and he's going to tank it. That's what we call that. And then in a 3-3, we're going to lock our front side tackle. So I have those drawn up here. So this is a jet versus a 3-4. We're reading that end, and he's going to tank. When he tanks, that end probably is going to widen with him. Okay? So we'll tank him here to that second level. Versus the 3-3, we like to lock this. The reason we lock it versus a 3-3 is because it helps us handle all the games that stack teams do. I don't know how much stack you guys see. We probably see it at least 3 times a year. Okay, so we kind of have to, we'll deal with that accordingly. And when we go against a stack, we'll read the stack player. We'll read that second level guy, okay, with our quarterback. So got some cut-ups here of that. So here's us running our jet play again. Gosh, I hope you guys have a faster quarterback than we do. All right, but one thing that's nice about this action here, it pulls everybody. Okay, so here it is again. Okay, now here's our H-back, our actual H-back kid. Put in here, we let him run a little jet. Throw him a bone every now and then. It was a great job by our tailback getting out front and leading on this play. Okay, again, the jet play. We lose a guy late here in the second level, but still a 6-yard gain. So we like it just as a nice change up. We're still in the pistol. We can still do everything out of the pistol, but now it's the power read they got to worry about as well. Okay? And here's just us running kick. A little power O for you. And guard's getting in the way. Gotta love him. The guard makes a tackle. Okay. Again, little kick. We missed the linebacker, but we're downhill. That was basically it, fellas, my presentation. I think I'm going to get the hook right now. Hey, I want to thank you guys. If you want to email me, I'll give you the whole presentation if you want. I got no problem with it. Thanks for paying attention. Thanks for guys asking questions. I hope it was beneficial.